FOS TV is brought to you by the Lion's Den. The Den always has been and always will be about enjoying family and friends in an environment steeped in Happy Valley tradition. So come back to the Den, the perfect place to recall old memories while creating new ones.
Mark Brennan with another episode of FOS TV here, wrapping up the Joe Paterno press conference. Joined this week by Cory Giger of Team Altoona Mirror, as I like to call it. They always staff their games. There you go. You're ready to rock and roll. So, hey, Cory, coming out of Joe's press conference today, what are some of your quick-hitting thoughts?
Well, clearly there's still no decision on the quarterback situation. Joe said he doesn't know who's going to start yet. Obviously, McGloin's numbers are so much better. He played badly against Alabama, 1 for 10 for no yards. But if you take that out, he's 33 out of 44, 400-plus yards. He's outplayed Bolden statistically, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Bolden 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So 3 interceptions, actually. So clearly, statistically, he's outplayed him. But obviously, the thing that everyone wants to focus on, Mark, is the potential. Bolden's got this better potential. Yep. Bolden might give him a better chance to beat the Alabamas or the Nebraskas or the Ohio States of the world. But my issue is you've got to beat Northwestern and Illinois and Iowa, and I think McGloin gives you a better chance to beat those 3 or all the teams on the schedule, because I haven't really seen enough from Bolden yet at all to lead me to believe he's better than McGloin in any area.
Yeah, you know what jumped out to me a little bit is that Joe actually was talking about sometimes it's better for a guy to come off the bench. I thought he was setting up to start Bolden again. I don't know if that's what you were reading out of that he thinks it's an advantage, and he did not say it specifically, don't get me wrong, but it sure seemed like he was kind of setting the stage for Bolden to get a start. I agree with you. I went into this season thinking Bolden had the greater upside, all that stuff people were talking about, but I'm waffling. I'm officially waffling. I thought these last couple games against Temple and Eastern Michigan, he had a chance to establish himself as the guy, and I'm just not sure that he's done it. And if he is unable to do it against those sorts of teams, I know everybody's saying, listen, McGloin's come apart against some of the better opponents. We have yet to see Bolden step up and be as good as McGloin. You look at his numbers across the board, McGloin's compared to Bolden's, it's no contest. Yeah,
no doubt about it. What I would like to see is for McGloin to get a start this week. Just flip the roles for a week, because you're going to beat Indiana. They just lost to North Texas, which is humiliating, first of all, and the fact that they had to go on the road and play a bottom-feeding Sun Belt Conference team, that's just embarrassing. But give McGloin a start to see how he performs at the beginning of a game, and then flip-flop and have Bolden come in a little bit later on, because you've got to get all of this settled for Iowa. Right. Iowa's coming in here next week. That's when the season really starts, and you've got to make sure you know what you're going to get from McGloin. Yeah, you know what you're going to get in the relief pitcher role. Find out what you're going to get from him from the outset. When, as one thing that came up after the game, Mark, they were changing the game plan a little bit because Eastern Michigan sold out against the run. So give McGloin an opportunity to be out there at the beginning to see what some defenses are trying to do there.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier this week on the Nitwits, the show I do down in Altoona, that sooner or later you have to give a guy a shot, and sooner or later if you don't, I think it's going to come back to bite you. You can't afford to be playing on a level playing field or whatever against in Iowa, or some of these games you may even fall behind. Some other key things to talk about today. Danton Lynn. Hey, it sounds like the news is really good. Things weren't as bad as they initially thought, but it looks like he's not going to play this week.
Yeah, that's great for him. Joe said that not as bad as they had feared. Jack Crawford called it a spinal concussion. I haven't really checked into that yet to see if that's, exactly. We haven't heard that from a medical person, but spinal concussion sounds kind of serious. We know how regular concussions get. So when you're dealing with a spinal cord, I would think he'd have to miss a couple weeks. Joe said he might be able to start working out on Thursday. Maybe. We'll see. But still, the bottom line is the young man is much better than they had feared, because that looked really scary.
Yeah, Joe, I think wisely so, deferring to the doctors, even though we don't have access to talk to the doctors. It's an easy out for him. But I think in these situations, you don't want to be monkeying around saying the wrong thing about somebody who had whatever the spine or neck or whatever it is. And we know from experience that Penn State, wisely so, errs on the side of caution with all these things. The other big loss, obviously, Mike Marty, gone for the year. The one thing that I thought was good to hear was Malcolm Willis talking about Marty coming into the locker room. And let me set that up, because we'll play a little bit of video right now.
He's a leader on the team, on and off the field. Him being down doesn't really change his role from our standpoint, because like yesterday he came in the locker room, he's like, y'all ready to be coached up by Coach Marty. So his leadership role still is the same. He's going to encourage us, and we're going to stick behind him no matter what.
Yeah, so there you have it, Mike Marty still serving as a leader, kind of a coach type thing. And I think that's good. Imagine how crushing that is, a second ACL injury, and for him to come back and already be in the locker room, what would it have been, Monday? That to me speaks to his qualities as a leader.
No doubt about it. You do have to feel for Mike Marty because he looked like a potential All-American. He looked like he was going to carry on that tradition of Sean Lee, Paul Posluszny, Navarro Bowman, all of whom are playing outstanding in the NFL, by the way. Sean Lee had a great game for the Cowboys Monday night. But Mike Marty looked like he could be in that role. He's already missed the 2009 season with an ACL, now a second one. So you feel bad for him, and you wonder how this is going to impact the defense. But at the same time, great to see the young man in good spirits, introducing himself as Coach Marty. He can still be an inspiration, and we saw Sean Lee was an inspiration when he was injured a few years ago. He was able to kind of be that. He was on the sideline. He was kind of like an assistant coach in some ways, and I would think, wouldn't you, Mark, that Marty could probably be used in that role, especially the linebackers are really good, but they're all really young, and he can help in that teaching role.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if either of these guys still travels with the team, because if you remember, Sean Lee, even with the travel limits in the Big Ten, he traveled with the team every week. Now, maybe that won't be feasible, that they're just coming back from these injuries. It sounds like Marty won't have surgery for another week or two. I guess swelling has to go down and whatnot. The other thing that kind of jumped out to me from Joe is he said they're not as concerned about leadership, and you get that. I mean, a guy like Devin Still's been playing out of his mind. Astorino's been around forever. They have a lot of veteran guys. He keeps harping on the playmaking ability, causing turnovers, that sort of thing. And I think that's well placed. I mean, that's the one thing that we have not seen them do in big games. They've done it against some of these quote-unquote lesser opponents. They did it against Temple at key times, and Temple is looking a little bit better than maybe we thought. I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference against Indiana because this team's really bad, as you mentioned, but they just have to keep on doing that. Those turnovers are huge.
You're right, and that is good to see, and I think they'll be okay at the linebacker spot because they've got so much depth there. But if Lynn misses any significant time, I wonder what's going to happen to the secondary if they lose any other player, Mark. I mean, we saw what happened last year. That was not a Penn State defense last year, just decimated by injuries. Now you lose two of your best guys, and you really can't afford to lose anybody else. What Devin Still said, and I give Devin Still credit after the game when I asked him, are you concerned about a repeat of last year? He flat out said, yeah, I'm nervous about it because as great as Devin Still has looked so far, he mentioned that you're only really as good as everybody else around you because, the linebackers take pressure off you, the cornerbacks take pressure off, the secondary guys take pressure off you. So, yeah, as well as everybody has played so far, now we've got to see what it's going to be like with Nate Stupar in there, with Stephen Morris and Chaz Powell and maybe or Derek Thomas or whoever they're going to go, Adrian Amos. So I think they'll be okay for right now, but if they were to lose maybe one more guy, a Crawford or a Sean Stanley, not to wish that would happen, but I could see a repeat of last year because, depth is always a major concern on the defensive side.
Yeah, Willis indicated that Amos and Thomas seem to be taking more snaps this week. Tom Bradley, after the game, he didn't seem as if he was completely comfortable with Powell or Morris playing on that short side of the field at cornerback. So I'm going to be interested to see what goes on there. Anything else jump out at you from this press conference? Joe seemed to be in a pretty good mood, but still was struggling to hear some questions. They actually asked reporters beforehand, keep the microphone close to your mouth. I don't know that that's actually helpful. I think he actually hears them easier when there is no microphone. But was there anything else that jumped out from you or to you from a nuts and bolts perspective?
Well, just not as many quarterback questions as I thought there would be. That's been the talk of the program, really. And I go back to what Derek Moy said last week that fans, students, when they come up to the players, they don't even say good luck or how are you guys doing. They always just ask about the quarterback situation. So I think this has been a distraction that's going into week 5 now. This has got to be it. I'm not a proponent of continuing to shuffle these guys in and out going into Big Ten play. You can get away with it this week, but after this week, when you start to play opponents that are going to be able to figure you out and make adjustments, you've got to go with one or the other. To me, McGloin has outplayed Bolden. Give him a shot. If fans out there still think McGloin is the same guy that he was in the Outback Bowl and the same guy who was terrible against Ohio State, well, that's fine. Maybe you think that that's the best he will ever get and he won't improve. But I think that's so totally unfair. Everybody improves in life. Every athlete improves over time. So there's just this huge sentiment against McGloin, Mark, that he'll never, ever be any better than he is today, but yet everybody just assumes Rob Bolden's going to be better than he is today. Why? I don't know. Jay Paterno hasn't proven that he can develop a quarterback like that. So, again, that to me is the biggest issue. There's just such a divisive camp here, McGloin versus Bolden, and I say it's obvious to me. McGloin has outplayed him. He deserves a shot.
It seems to me as if you've thought about these issues a lot. Clearly, Cory hosts a radio show. Where can people listen to you?
Well, it's on ESPN Radio 1450 in State College, ESPN Radio 1430 in Altoona. I'm on every day from 4 to 6 p.m. And if you're not around a computer or not around a radio in the area, you can go to Ustream. That's the letter U, Stream, S-T-R-E-A-M, and just search for my name or Sports Central. The show is broadcast live on the internet every day from 4 to 6.
I'm being attacked by mosquitoes or something here. It's humid and hazy and everything else. The other thing, AltoonaMirror.com. People can read your stuff there. Follow you on Twitter. Just search Cory Giger on Twitter. You'll be able to find him. One question I have to ask before we break this thing up. What's it like having to travel with Neil Rudell? That has to be one of the more painful things that you've done.
Neil is a good buddy of mine. He's a good friend. He's also my boss and writes the paychecks, so I will take the fifth on that. No, the worst thing about Neil is he loves to have it cold, okay? So he's always fidgeting with the air conditioner. So I'm freezing. I will literally be wearing gloves in the car once we're driving around. So that's a little funny. But no, Neil's a great guy, and I just want to tell you, I appreciate you always coming on the show. Sports Central remarks on every Friday around 5:05, and you guys do, you know how much I respect you guys, what you do at Fight on State. So it's really been a lot of fun getting to hang out with you, getting to hang out with Neil, getting to hang out. We have a lot of great guys on this beat, and that makes this job a lot of fun.
Yeah, we really enjoy traveling. We'll be doing it to Indianapolis and Bloomington this week, and that's going to wrap it up for this wrap-up of Joe Paterno's weekly press conference. We look forward to seeing everybody next week.